Hello, hello. Welcome to your reading lesson for today, Friday, May 1st. We are doing the second part of the story that you started yesterday. Wah! Sorry, there's a frog there. The story that you started yesterday was called The Cabin Faced West. So we're talking about part 2. You should have stopped on page, 538 yesterday. And today we're starting on page 539. And again, just like I did yesterday, I'll put it on the end screen so that you know exactly what pages you're supposed to read and the workbook pages that go along with them, okay? To start out, let's go ahead and do our vocabulary. We're going to do vocabulary with the sentences, again, just like we normally would. And then we will, I'm thinking, I did not go over the instructions yesterday for your reading. I apologize for that. So today I will make sure to do that. So we're reading today, or you're reading today, pages 539 to 545, and then you'll do your workbook page. But before we do that, let's do our vocab, and then we'll talk about your workbook page, and then I'll let you go. You guys are going to read on your own. Majority of these lessons, now that we're learning remotely, are going to be reading on your own, reading independently. So stay accountable to that, okay? Your grade is going to reflect whether or not you're paying attention and reading the entire story. If you're just skimming through to get done, you're probably not going to do well on the workbook page. So just keep that in mind. Remember, be responsible. We only have like a little over 2 weeks left. All right? We can do this. We can do this. All right. So vocab today. Number 1, the hurricane battered the small town so badly that most of the buildings were knocked flat to the ground. Now, batter means to strike or hit repeatedly. Battered means that the storm continued to unleash its power over and over and over again. So a lot of the time, here's the picture that I found of battered in regards to storms. You can even see in the headline, storm battered South Australia braces for more wild weather. So it just means that there's a lot of destruction that comes with the storms. Like oftentimes hurricanes will batter a coast. All right, we hear that often in the news. All right, number 2, summer vacation was so busy that it seemed like a blur now that school has started. The word, the vocab word is blur. Blur. Now, blur is one of those words that can mean a couple of different things. Let's check it out. So a blur can be a thing that cannot be seen or heard clearly, the pale blur of her face. It could also be an indistinct memory or impression of events, typically because they happen so fast. So that's the definition that goes along with our sentence today. The day before was a blur. It's something that happens, but it's hard to remember because you feel like it went by so quickly, right? This year has been a blur. All of a sudden, we went from August to May, and now we're almost done with the year, all right? All right, so that's blur. Number 3. My flimsy little sweater did not keep me warm in the cold, biting wind. Flimsy is the word. In this picture, flimsy just means weak. It's not really durable. Durable means long-lasting. It's kind of, I don't know, like a piece of paper is flimsy because it's flexible and it's easy to tear. The picture that I found, and maybe some of you guys will be able to relate, maybe some of you won't. When I go get my nails done or my feet done for a pedicure, they always give you these really flimsy flip-flop like deals. But they just don't, you can tell they're very, the word flimsy is exactly what comes to mind, right? They don't last long. They don't protect your feet while they're not durable, all right? So that's flimsy, flimsy. Number 4, we hid up in the loft of the barn and spied on Grandpa as he milked the cows. The loft in a barn looks something like this. They're really neat. It's kind of like a second story, but it's not enclosed, right? And you access it through a ladder or a set of stairs. But the whole point, a loft, is that it's open, right? It's not a private room by any means. If you looked up, you should be able to see who's up there at different angles. All right. Let's see, number 5. When water began to seep out of the washing machine, we realized it was leaking. All right, so seep, the definition for seep. Actually, no, let's do the picture first. So here are a couple pictures of seep. Seep means kind of just to leak water gradually. Now, there's also something called a petroleum seep, which we'll talk about in our definition. Let's look at it. Here's the definition of seep. Of liquid means to flow or leak slowly through porous materials or small holes. And then a petroleum seep is a place where petroleum or water oozes slowly out of the ground, okay? So seep kind of gives you the idea of water kind of trickling, oozing, coming out of a small hole or porous material, all right? And then last, number 6, the homeless man had tattered clothes, so Dad gave him new shirts, pants, and shoes to wear. All right, so here is a picture of tattered. Tattered means that it's kind of torn apart. They're so old that the threads in the shirt are not staying together. So there's a picture of a tattered flag. There's a picture of a tattered something, clothing, it says. I don't know that I'd be able to tell you what kind of clothing that is. But yeah, tattered, old, right? Falling apart. All right, guys, that is it for your vocab words. So 6 words that we just went over: battered, loft, blur, seep, flimsy, tattered. All right? Yes. So for your reading workbook page today, you are doing, let's see, I gotta find it. First, you're reading, I'm going to tell you again, you're reading pages 539 to 545. And then you're going to do workbook pages 209 and 210. So we're getting pretty close to the end here. 209, we are not going to complete this book completely, but we will get close. 209 and 210 looks like this. All right, there's the front. There it goes. There's the back. Let's talk about your directions. Write your answers for 1 and 2. It says, explain how the storm is a symbol in the story. Remember, a symbol simply means that it means something else. There's a way to connect it to another thing, all right? And then again, number 2, explain how the cabin is a symbol in the story. Down below it says, mark all the correct meanings of the title, The Cabin Faced West. What things did that mean? There's going to be multiple answers. So here's your Easter egg. You are looking for 3 answers. 3 answers that have the same meaning as the correct meaning of the title, The Cabin Faced West. So you should put a little 3 in parentheses next to that question so you remember 3 bubbles you should be looking for. On the back, guys, it says write the answers. Explain why your prediction about Anne's decision to leave or stay was correct or incorrect. So yesterday you made a prediction about whether or not she stays or she leaves. Number 4, how does the conflict of man versus self end? Remember, conflict of man versus self, there's a problem in the story where a man is having problems with himself, all right? So that should help a little bit with that question. Let's see. Now in this question, even though it says man versus self, it's talking about the main character, who is Anne, right? She's not a man, she's a girl. So really it's girl versus self. How does her conflict end? All right. Number 5, how does the conflict of man versus nature end? So now this is a different conflict. This is Anne versus nature. All right. There's another problem that has to do with her going up against nature. So how is that resolved? And then for 6 through 11, you guys are going to put the vocabulary word in the sentence that it completes. We just went over all those vocabulary words again. Now, if you forgot what a vocabulary word is, the beautiful thing of this recording is that you can just go back and listen again to the beginning of the video, right? In the first couple of minutes, that's what we did. Listen for those words and then put them where they're supposed to be. All right? All right, guys. Let's see. If you would like to use a homework pass on this page, fine by me. You do not need to do any of, actually, that's a lie. If you're using a Homework Pass, that's fine. You only need to do the vocabulary section, the very last section. Okay, so those are numbers, let's see, 6 through 11 on the back you must do, but other than that, if you use a Homework Pass, you do not need to do anything else. Okay? All right, don't forget about your reading log tonight. That is your homework, and other than that, I think that's it. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will catch you guys soon. Goodbye. Oh, let me switch over. Here's your page numbers. Let's see if I can write them down. I'm glad I caught that. So 539, let's see. Through 545. And then workbook page 209 through 210. All right. So there's that. That looks a little bit better. All right, guys, I'll catch you guys later.